Once upon a time, there was a king who ruled a kingdom. He cared for his people and always worked to make their lives better. His heart was full of kindness, and his rule was fair. He had a minister who was known far and wide for his sharp mind. This minister was not only clever but also loyal, and the king trusted him more than anyone. Among the courtiers, there was a man named Charles. His wife, Laura, was the best friend of the minister's wife. One evening, the minister sat with his wife, Elizabeth, and their children, Rose and O'Neill. A maid set the tea and snacks on the table and left. Elizabeth picked up a cup, handed it to the minister. O'Neill looked at his father.
Dad, can we go somewhere on vacation?
Rose nodded eagerly.
Yes, Dad.
The minister smiled.
I would love to. But you know the king trusts me more than anyone. I can't take time off. But you can go with your mother.
Rose's face fell.
But Dad, that isn't right. We need you.
O'Neill added.
Yes. You are our dad. We want to go with you.
Elizabeth smiled and took a sip of tea. The minister sighed.
I know. But the welfare of our people comes first. I must work with the king. Can't you make this small sacrifice for our homeland?
O'Neill hesitated, then smiled.
Of course. Dad.
Rose nodded slowly. The minister set his cup down and stood up.
I need to go for some official work.
Elizabeth nodded.
Okay, dear.
Rose and O'Neill chimed in together.
See you, Dad.
The minister smiled and left. A while later, as Elizabeth was in the kitchen, a maid entered.
Ma'am, your friend Laura has arrived.
Elizabeth wiped her hands and walked to the drawing room with a smile.
Hi, dear.
But she stopped. Laura sat there, tense, her eyes brimming with tears. Elizabeth's heart tightened. Something was wrong. She said,
Laura, let's go to my room.
They walked to the room. Elizabeth closed the door. And then she sat beside Laura and patted her back.
What happened?
Tears streamed down Laura's face. Elizabeth handed her a glass of water. Laura took a few sips, then took a shaky breath.
Elizabeth, my home is falling apart.
Elizabeth's heart sank.
What are you saying?
Laura wiped her eyes.
Charles is involved with another woman again.
Elizabeth sighed. Then he said,
You know he often gets distracted.
But he deeply loves you.
Laura hesitated.
This girl is so beautiful. What if he marries her?
Elizabeth's face grew serious. But she said,
No. He won't do this.
Laura said,
Please. Don't tell Brother Louis.
Elizabeth said.
I won't tell.
After a while, Laura left. At night, the minister returned home. Elizabeth, with the help of the maids, set the food. Then she sat down. But her face looked tense. Rose giggled.
Dad. Today O'Neill tried to catch a butterfly and fell into the bushes.
O'Neill frowned.
Rose! Don't tell that.
Elizabeth suddenly snapped.
Enough! No more talk!
Rose lowered her head. The minister glanced at Elizabeth.
What's wrong?
After dinner, the minister went to his room. A while later, Elizabeth entered. She placed the milk glass on the bedside table and lay down beside him. The minister asked,
What's wrong? Dear?
Elizabeth turned away slightly.
I am not feeling well.
The minister gently touched her hand.
You should sleep now.
Elizabeth nodded. The next day, Elizabeth went to the doctor. When she came back, the minister saw her looking quiet.
Are you okay?
He asked. Elizabeth replied.
Yes.
Then she went into the room. The minister thought.
I think she's hiding something. I should ask.
He followed her inside.
Dear. Tell me what's wrong. Did the doctor say something?
Elizabeth replied.
I am fine.
The minister asked again.
Please, tell me.
Elizabeth hesitated.
Promise me you won't tell Charles.
The minister nodded. Elizabeth took a deep breath and told him everything about Charles's affair. The minister's face became serious.
Did you promise Laura to keep this secret?
Elizabeth lowered her eyes.
Yes.
Then you should have kept your promise.
The minister said. Elizabeth looked down.
But I was so worried.
The minister sighed.
Okay.
One day, in the royal court, the king spoke about women and loyalty. The discussion went on. The minister said,
Your Majesty. Women are loyal. But they cannot keep secrets.
A courtier, Albert, shook his head.
I don't agree with that.
The king looked at the minister.
If you believe this, you must prove it.
The minister bowed.
As you wish. Your Majesty.
After some time, the court ended. That night, the minister lay on his bed, thinking.
How can I prove this?
He thought well. And suddenly an idea came. A smile appeared on his face.
This will work.
Then he closed his eyes and soon fell asleep. One night, Elizabeth noticed that Louis looked worried. He sat quietly, lost in thought.
What's bothering him?
She wondered. Meanwhile, Rose and O'Neill were playing nearby. Suddenly, Rose bumped into the table, knocking over a cup of water. Louis shouted.
Rose! O'Neill! How many times have I told you to be careful?
The children froze.
Sorry, Dad.
Rose mumbled. Louis sighed.
Go to your room now.
The kids hurried away.
Something is really troubling him.
Elizabeth thought. She asked.
What happened? Dear?
The minister shook his head and walked into the room. A few days later, in the bedroom, Elizabeth asked.
Please share with me your problem.
The minister hesitated.
But if you tell anyone...
Elizabeth held his hand.
I won't tell.
The minister swallowed hard. Then whispered.
Elizabeth, I laid an egg.
Elizabeth's eyes widened.
What?
The minister quickly placed his hand over her mouth.
Please. Don't shout. The kids might hear.
Elizabeth was still shocked but nodded. That night, she couldn't sleep. The next morning, as the minister was leaving, he whispered.
Please remember.
Elizabeth nodded. She went to Laura's house. She was very tense. Laura took her to her bedroom.
Elizabeth. What's wrong?
Elizabeth sighed.
I need to share something. But it must stay between us.
Laura nodded.
Of course.
Elizabeth whispered.
Louis laid an egg.
Laura exclaimed.
Oh my God!
Elizabeth quickly shushed her.
Lower your voice. The news will spread.
Laura whispered.
How is that possible?
Elizabeth shook her head.
I don't know. But Louis is very worried.
After some time, Elizabeth left for home. That night, as soon as Charles came to home, Laura said,
Charles, I have to tell you something. But promise me you won't tell anyone.
Charles smiled.
I promise.
Laura whispered.
Elizabeth told me that Louis laid 2 eggs.
Charles was stunned.
Is that true?
Laura nodded.
Why would Elizabeth lie? Please, don't tell anyone.
Charles smirked.
Don't worry.
But Charles didn't keep it to himself. He told another courtier, and soon the secret spread everywhere. One morning, as the minister entered the court, everyone was smiling at him. He took his seat. Soon, the king arrived, and the court session began. Suddenly, a courtier smirked and asked,
Louis, how many eggs did you lay?
The minister's eyes widened. Before he could respond, the king laughed.
Louis, is it true?
The court erupted in laughter. The minister stood up quickly.
No. Not at all. Your Majesty.
Charles stepped forward.
Your Majesty. He is lying. My wife, Laura, is friends with Elizabeth. She told Laura herself.
The minister then bowed.
Your Majesty. I only told my wife. And she told her friend. Soon the word spread. This proves that women cannot keep secrets.
The king laughed loudly.
Well done. Louis, you have proved your point.
The king, pleased with the minister's wit, rewarded him with gold and money.